Hi there. So, I wanted to share a little bit more about my personal journey on fasting, on my relationship with food, and also my relationship with my body and all the body image issues that can come up as a woman. Yeah. And I feel really inspired to speak about that as I am doing another fasting because I've done so many of them in my life. Yeah, and I'm on a day 5 of that fasting and day 2 of dry fast, so no water. And as amazing that can feel and sound, there has been so many issues that were anchored with this fasting, and there is always like this double aspect of it. I feel like I've entered the fasting journey in 2012. I started with fasting in 2012, and it always be like the first intuition, the first calling, the passion that I have with this has always come from a real calling of my soul. Like it was really feeling that there was a path for me. There was never like a doubt that I wouldn't feel fulfilled with that. And in the same time, like every time that there is such an amount of light, there is always such an amount of darkness that come with it. And I feel like my demons and my darkness that will follow or use or take advantage of that window was all the time the body image issues. And at one point along the path of my fastings, uh, was coming like, oh my god, I want to lose weight more, and it was never enough. And I want to, I want to look better, like physically. It's like not anymore I want to feel better, but I want to look good. Yeah, so that has always been a big one. And I can't say that that I'm over it. Even now that I'm fasting, I can hear that voice. It's like almost like this little demon here, the little evil that is whispering in your ear, and that is there. It's like, oh, good, we're gonna lose some weight. It's amazing. So I want to speak about those things and maybe retrace a little bit of my personal story with it, and seeing where I come from with all those fasting, because many people that know me personally, because I also realized I've never shared online, I've never shared publicly all of this. And actually, when I reflect upon that, I never did it because there is a level of shame that was there. So, and it was funny because I've shared so many things in social media, maybe not lately, the last year, not too much, but the years before, so many shares. And somehow this has never really come up as something that I've shared publicly. So yeah, there is level of shame that are coming with those inner struggle around this body image, and also this physical existence in a physical body. But yeah, so um yeah, people who know me knows that I'm pretty hardcore with fasting, and I've done many different pretty long term fasting. I've started with 3 days in 2012, and then I went into 7 days, then I went into 10, then I went into 20, and then ultimately I came across the Breatharian lifestyle, and it was like, oh my god, yes, I need to do this, it feels amazing. And I went into this process of Breatharian in 2015, and went without solid food for 40 days, and later on continued a kind of breatharian lifestyle and eating really really little for the next 6 months. I'll come more in details to that later. I want to start by the beginning of my life, and how all of this started to make sense. But before I start, I want to make a big disclaimer. I'm not doing a promotion for everyone to stop eating or to eat less or to become a breatharian. It's absolutely not my intent, and I don't even know if I'm gonna ever become a breatharian full time. I'm not sure. But I definitely want to give a window into what has been my personal journey and experience with food, with how I've used food, and yeah, and all those demons attached to it that it's like that are like a parasite into this journey that actually brings so much expansion and self-awareness and consciousness in my life. So I'm not saying you need to do it. If you feel a call, reach out, and if you feel triggered, please don't bring all your projection onto me. Happy to receive you with your feelings, but not necessarily by being judged or attacked, because I might trigger some of your stuff in this video. So, yeah, let's start in the start. Like when I was a child, I remember, but also my mom told me, because like since I was very young, like very little, 1 years old, 2 years old, I didn't want to eat. Like it was really hard for my parents to give me food, and I would just refuse or vomit it, and not feeling good with the food. Like there was something intuitive in me that didn't want to receive physical food. So my parents struggled a lot for at least the first 7 years of my life to give me food and tricks me, and try to put all their love in the food and having little games around that so that I would be fed. And it was a big concern to them that I would not want that. Even more with meat, like that was like a clear no, but any kind of food I was resistant to it. Then, as far as I remember, at least until my 12 or 13 years old, which, at one point I was just eating as everyone and to please my parents and like to be like normal, I guess. I mean, I'm just guessing because I don't really remember what actually shifted in my brain. And until my 12 or 13, even 15, I was a teen, I remember that every time I would eat, I would just feel like cramp, like stomach cramp, and I had to go all the time to the toilet right after eating dinner or lunch and stay there for at least 20 minutes. And I remember that really clearly. I was just praying on the toilet to God. I was praying for this pain to stop. And as much as that, my mom at the time was wondering if I was going to the toilet and vomit. She was really concerned by me spending so much time in the toilet after dinners, because, yeah, she thought I was bulimic and doing those things. And then my mid-teens, it kind of stopped. I did not have any pain anymore, and I was eating like a lot, or even correctly, but like I was eating normally, let's say, and yeah, and I did not feel any pain anymore. If we go chronologically, at 18, I was diagnosed with cancer. So not on the stomach area, it was like lymphatic system cancer. And they said I was probably sick since a year and a half. So around my 16, I probably started developing that cancer. It was like a long path of recovery, and at the time I didn't have the same knowledge that I have today. So I went the normal medical path, which was like surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy. On top of that, I did many drugs because I was a rebellious teenager. So anyway, then I went in recovery 2 years after, and 3 or 4 years after, they diagnosed me with an autoimmune disease, a lupus. And I think 4 or 5 years after, with another autoimmune disease, antiphospholipid syndrome. So, the autoimmune disease are like this kind of rubbish where we put everything that we don't know, any kind of symptom you have that we don't know, like this is an autoimmune disease. I start believing and feeling more and more anyway that all those diseases are really related not only to our mental and emotional state but also to the food that we eat, and how do we treat that body. That definitely that's a clear statement to me. This world and this society of overconsumption brought us anyway to eat so much, like too much. We eat too much, we consume constantly. We eat probably 5 to 10 times more than what our body needs, and on top of that we don't listen to what our body needs. Yeah, so definitely I'll say 90% of the disease of this world come from that inawareness of our bodies. I had this experiment. So, because when I was a young adult, I would say between 17 and 25, I was extremely concerned about my body image, of course. I wanted to be sexy, I wanted to be beautiful. And coming from an Italian blood family, my constitution and my body has always been voluptuous. Yeah, I had my menstruation when I was 10, so I started having breast very young. My little booty was like, since I was a child, I had like this little round booty, and my mom like used to really call me culito de torero, so little ass of a torero, because they have like this little beautiful bum. And even in all my path, especially when I went into Breatharianism and I lost a lot of weight, even when I was really skinny, I always had those shapes. So my body is naturally round and voluptuous. So it was like having all those diets to lose weight has always been like an impossible mission. As much as I could lose weight, I would never look like those models in the magazine. I would never look like my girlfriend that were tall and skinny legs. That has always been my fantasy, but it was something that was not rational, because I would never look like that. Anyway, along that path of those multiple diets, when I was 20 years old, I ended up going to a doctor that was a behaviorist, and it was very different of all the other diets that I've done, because it was like, you can eat whatever you want. It was like, what is your favorite food? And I was like, pizza. And it's like, great, so you can eat pizza every day from now on if you want, in every meal. And I was like, oh, I like this doctor. And it was like, the only thing that I'm gonna require from you is to fill this form every day about when do you feel hunger, when do you feel that you're enough. That's I don't even know if there's a word in English, but satiety, like it's like when you're full, and to stop every time that you're full, to eat very slowly, and to only eat when you feel hunger. And even if you're going to start only with pizzas for the first week, you'll see that the more you're going to listen to the body and really give it food when it wants, and the more your body will tell you what it wants, and you'll probably very, very quickly transition from eating only pizza to something that your body needs. I did this experiment for a month. I was shocked. Not only I lost 7 kilos in a month, but and that was good. That was my goal, so losing weight. But what shocked me was actually realizing how I don't feel hunger much, and I ended up eating almost nothing for that month, like eating one meal a day. And I was maybe, okay, at the beginning I started with pizza for the first 3 days, but then very quickly it was just salads and maybe an egg here and then one cracker. It was like I started really eating nothing almost, and that was very unusual for my life, which was like eating 3 meals a day, eating a lot, socially eating, emotionally eating, like just always going and picking some food in the fridge. So yeah, but I took this experience like really seriously, and yeah, and I wasn't feeling hunger. I wasn't I wasn't feeling deprived at all, and I was like, oh my god, I'm eating at least 10 to 15 times more than what my body needs. Yeah, I was in shock. So then later on, when I finished down the experiment, of course I came back to normal. Yeah, as many time, like then emotional calms, crisis, breakout, no, not breakout, breakups, heartbreaks, or whatever feelings. And also, it was like after my cancer, it was like so many things come up, and I stopped, and I came back to normal habits, unhealthy habits. Then there's also a lot of pressure. Like I don't want to minimize that, because I encountered a lot of pressure of social pressure. It is so ingrained in the collective mind that we need to eat 3 times a day, that we need to eat certain foods, and of course, depending on which not tradition, but which like doctor, or like which culture, some food are better, some other food are better than others, but all the time there is always this, and you go to eat to your dad. Like when I'm going to eat to my dad, we have, this food that we always eat every time. My mom, this other food, and all of this brings me love, brings me back to my childhood, brings me back to those beloveds and those people that rose me, and I want to share that love again with them through food, you know. So there's many component around the why are we eating, and what it brings. Actually, it brings this feeling of closeness, of belonging with people. There's so much social rights around being with your community and eating certain food and sharing certain drinks. So yeah, then when I was so in 2012, when I started my travels and my yogic path, start doing those fasting to like for the kriyas, for cleaning the body, which was like, that's really good. I think my body needs to be cleaned after 2 years of chemotherapy and 5 years of drug addictions. I felt like my body needed those cleaning. So for all my years of living in this tantric yogic community, which I went into for 4 years, did so many cleansing, kriyas, everything to clean my body, and my body's really grateful for that. But then, of all these fastings, one day I came across this man that starts speaking again about this Breatharianism, and that he has a friend that didn't eat for 4 years. I'm in shock again. It reminds me that book I read when I was 18, and the first time I heard about people eating on prana, so on light, and I was so reactive. At 18, I was like, "What? That's bullshit!" Like, but I was so reacted. At the time, I could not know, but my reaction was so strong that there was something that actually was resonating so much, but in the shadow, so it's like almost the only thing I remember of this 600-page book. It's like the only thing. So for many years I forgot about that, and then when I don't remember which, but it was like in 2014 I met this guy that told me about his friend that didn't eat for 4 years, and I feel like this rush of passion, like it lights my body. I'm like, okay, if that exists, if there is this guy that didn't eat for 4 years, first of all, I want to speak with him. I want to have like concrete proof that this exists, and not only I want to meet this guy, but if that exists, I want to try it. I canceled all my plan. I was supposed to go back to India and teach there in India and then go to Thailand. Canceled like the next 4 months. And I locked myself in the south of France in a family home where I was recluded in a small village. And I went into a huge process by myself alone, going through all of this, which brings so much emotional and mental triggers and purifications. It was incredible. Anyway, so yeah, I did that for those 3 months. I've started with different diets at the start to prepare my body. I did like 10 days of raw food and then another 10 days of Oshawa diets, which was consisting in only eating brown rice. And then I started the process, the 21-day process, which is the most known in Breatharian, which involve 1 week of dry fast, so you don't drink and you don't eat. And that was a huge that was the first time ever I was so, like, it was such an act of faith, because every doctor say that, you know, if you go beyond 3 or 4 days without drinking, you're gonna die. And I was alone in this house. I had this guide, so the pranic, the Breatharian guy at the phone every day, because then I ended up meeting him, not personally, but we had like Skypes and like a lot of phone calls. And he was like, "You're a bit crazy to go through that process alone, but I wanna support you. I wanna be a support person, and I wanna call you every day, and we have a check-in." So I was really guided by him, which felt really good. And yeah, it was such this faith and devotion and really strong belief into this lifestyle. And I deeply, it's like my soul remembered. It was like, it was crazy. I almost never felt that fire. It's like I knew I can do it. I knew I wouldn't die, and even if I would die, it was worth. That was how passionate I was, you know. So I went on for the 7 days without water. I had the most incredible and blissful spiritual experience. The last 2 days of those 7, I was in a blissful state that we can call samadhi for 48 hours, in a total state of non-duality. And like those, you know, I have those glimpses when I meditate for a few minutes or when I have orgasms, but I never ever had 48 hours of that state. And that's, even until now, that's my only experience of a prolonged state of samadhi. Yeah, so then I went on, like the process, 21 day, first week no water and no food, and then the 2 other weeks you can have water and diluted juices. And then after those 21 days you can continue not eating as long as you want. So I went on for 40 days, and I came back to my community, to my mom's house, and it was so intense. Like, my physical body felt amazing. Like, I've never felt so good in my physical body. Never. Yeah, but my emotional body was good when I was alone. All the time that I was alone, I wasn't affected emotionally, so that was good. My mental body was a bit not. It's starting, so all these infiltrations of body image, of wanting to be slim, of pushing myself beyond limits, of challenging myself, it started to kick in already when I was alone. But then when I came back to my mom's place, my friends there, my dad, like, it's starting to create such an incredible reaction. I did not imagine like that would go so far. Like, my mom was really fearful. Like, when she saw me and I was like 15 kilo less, she freaked out. It probably also triggers a lot of her wounds around her body image, and, you know, something that unfortunately she transmitted to me since I was a child, because she had, as many women, as so many women, a lot of body image issues. So since I was a young child, she was trying to not, for me to not gain weight or to always have a good silhouette. So anyway, she was in fear. My dad went nuts. Like, he was so reactive. He was calling the psychiatric hospital for me to be, to go to the to be locked in the psychiatric hospital for anorexia and for suicidal thought. He thought I was like killing myself, you know, by refusing to eat. Probably triggers the wounds that he had when I was a child, you know. Then all my friends, it wasn't possible to have a conversation or being met and loved by any friend without actually them being triggered or just asking me question about why I'm not eating, what's happening, like it was this agitation everywhere. And the last thing that like stabbed me was my beloved Sebastian, my partner, came back from the States and he came to my place and total rejection of me. You know, like it was not like a confrontal rejection, but I could feel how he was in fear also, probably. And that was the last, like my emotional body was like in pieces, like really in pieces. I could not anymore handle this rejection from everywhere. I felt like no one was loving me. Like I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel loved, and that was more traumatic for me to not receive the love anymore from my beloveds, than to not receive food. My body was amazing. I felt really good in my body. And then on top of that, yeah, there were always these thoughts, you know, like those thoughts of like, I wanted to be skinny, I want to be like this little demon there, you know, yeah, continue, be skinnier. So it's starting to be a lot for me to deal with, really much. And yeah, I could not handle that anymore. Like I just came back to eat and to like I remember actually the first meal I was like called my dad and I'm like, I'm coming to have lunch with you and we're gonna have chicken. And I didn't eat meat for the last 6 years. That was ridiculous, you know. I was like, we're gonna eat chicken. And then my dad cooled down and everyone started to be more loving again, and I could have a social life again, because of course every time that you go see a friend, it's for dinner, for lunch. I was cut from any social life. But then like later on, a month after we flew back to Thailand, where we were living in this community with Sebastian, and where in that community all of those different diets, vegan, no sugar, no gluten, fructivore, like all of this is so much more accepted. Yeah, so it's like feel like the love isn't cut if you're doing those strange diets. Everyone's doing a strange diet in Copenhagen, you know. It's like, so you're not an alien anymore. So I actually start gently like eating very less and having multiple fasts. Every month I would have a fast of a week or something. So for the following 6 months, which I didn't realize, I'm realizing that now, I was having actually a breatharian lifestyle. Even though I was eating some food, was eating very little. Almost was like, it reminds me the way I was eating when I was a child, which was like I didn't want. I just wanted a little bit. I didn't want more. Or also this experiment that I did with that doctor when I was 20. So it was like just really eating what I needed, and it was not even a meal per day, or just some fruit, and I was feeling great for the 6 months. And then again, my life changed. After those 6 months, I moved to Australia, in Melbourne, a city. I was working in a strip club, so very dense energies, a lot of emotional charge, a lot of unknown, and I started eating a lot again. You know, it's like needed to have more food to support the emotional triggers. So anyway, this, like, what I want to say is that in all that path, I really realize how much we eat for first of all for conditioning, It's like we are conditioned to eat 3 meals a day, to eat that amount. Statistic also shows that we're eating more and more with the years. Like I was reading a statistic, I don't remember the numbers, but in the last decade, the amount of food that we are consuming every day and in every meal has been rose between 5 and 30%, depending the countries. So we're eating so much because we're conditioned. So that's one thing, like the mental plane, we are conditioned, and yeah, and we want to be validated. And like I know so many times it's like I've done a hard work or I'm bored or something, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go in the fridge and eat something and I'm gonna feel better. Then there is all the emotional eating, and it's not just when you eat chocolate because your heart break. Yeah, the emotional eating goes way beyond that what we imagine. And I've realized that with all my fasting, it's like when I stopped eating, all the emotions that I don't want to feel come out. Yeah, and I need to be confronted with that grief, with that sensitivity, everything that is not there. And it's also something that I actually really love when I am fasting, is that it really reconnects me with my little girl. I'm so much more vulnerable, I'm so much more sensitive. I feel that I'm so much more open to the interconnectivity of life, to the inclusive field of love with beings, but actually, most and foremost, with nature and with animals. I feel like this expansion of my heart, also because not eating food slow down my process, my body process, but also sharpen my mind, open my body to actually receive life in a very different way. So even though at the beginning there is those purging, like the first days of fasting, there is a purging of your physical body, of your emotional body and your mental body, which are very uncomfortable. And that's why many people are like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, it's painful. But then after the purge come the immense clarity of mind. I'm in the fifth day today, and since yesterday, like I can really see like the clarity of my mind, know exactly what I need to do. Did a meditation, I had the download of this video, download of many other things that I'm like, yeah, creative flow, it's coming so clearly. Clearing of your emotional field, like really letting go of anything that is not good for you, like without bypassing the grief. At the moment, in this particular moment of my life, I am going through heartbreak, and it's like, yeah, it's like there is so much grief to feel, and the grief is there, but in the same time it's like, yeah, what was toxic in this relationship has to be away, and I'm pretty clear about what is healthy for my heart, without bypassing what feels painful into this breakup. Yeah, and the physical body feels amazing. um what I wanted to say, I'm just lost to do. Yes, also in the last years, because I want to still go back to my personal story. I would say in the last 3 years, I started to have those pain again in my belly, and the more I go on, the more I start burping a lot. I started not digesting good at all, having pain in my bowel every time I would eat again, cramps, no matter what I would eat. Although I had vegetarian diet for many years, even though I reintroduced a little bit of meat and a lot of fish like in the last years, but very cautiously, like not a lot at all. Like, yeah, no matter what I do, I even went for a few months of no gluten, no sugar. There was something that was better, but still I feel an uncomfort with food. I always feel like, oh my god, like I never feel better than when I don't eat. Like it's just as clearly as that. Yeah, it's so yeah, just to bring you into the context where I'm coming from with all of this. So, and lately we decided to do this fast with my roommates here. They never did a fast before, and you probably have seen some of the videos that we've been doing live transmissions. It was beautiful to guide them in the process and to actually transmit also my wisdom and my knowledge around that, which I realize is a lot. And I never shared that before. So yeah, and synchronicities. While we were about to do that 5-day fast, another friend started speaking about this Breatharian guy that I had never heard about it, and she sent me his program, and suddenly I'm doing a Breatharian process again. 7 days, and 7 days plus the day that we started before, and I don't know how long that's gonna be. One thing that became really clear and that really changed from my experience of 5 years ago into the Breatharian process is that I want to be kind with me. Really be kind with myself, not pushing myself over limits. And also knowing that it's not because I'm going to eat food again eventually, which I probably will, that I failed and that I'm not in this path anymore. In fact, I think I've always been in this path, but really oscillating between extreme. My intention is to have less extremes and finding a middle ground that really correspond to my needs. And my needs for sure are, which I know, it's to eat so little, and give myself permission to have social gathering and beautiful food, but eat really little. So I'm gonna go on with this Breatharian process for the next, I don't know, I don't remember the dates, but like 5 to 7 days, and then let's see how I'm going on, if I want to continue not eating for a while, or if I want to introduce food. But yeah, my intention is really to find a mature stability into my relationship with food, and yeah, and bringing that love for my body and being aware of those voices. Like I said, there's always like this little demon that is trying to take me out of my way, that is trying to sabotage anything that I'm doing for me. Every act of self-love come with the same amount of self-destruction in the background. I can either ignore it and then it's gonna eat me from behind, like slowly, like a cancer, basically. Or I have to acknowledge that this big shadow comes with the light, and so the shadow for me of all those years of fasting and trying to find my stability in my relationship to food has always been my body image issues, which is like pathology of 99% of women in those Western societies. So I'm aware of it, it's there, and I have to embrace it. And it's like I feel like the love that I'm experiencing for myself can also include those parts of me that forgot that they were loved, even if I don't have a model physical body, even though I don't have skinny legs and a tall and long body. So yeah, it's like this rememberings that there are bits of us that feel unloved, and that feel that the only way to be loved is to be in a certain way. So yeah, just feeling so much called to share the journey, and I'm feeling complete probably for now, and I'd love to receive your comment if you feel that resonates. Even if that doesn't resonate, but as I said at the beginning of the video, I really would like to state that I am not here to tell you what to do and to tell you which path is for you, and that was also the beauty in journeying with those two beings with me, is that we went into very different diets, very different fasting ways, and really honoring where they're at and what is true for them. And as in my younger age, I've been so much more dictatorial, and this is my truth, this is the truth that needs to be known and done by anyone. I feel like I've really softened and my fire went down a little bit, and more water, more hair is there, and more love to include everyone. So yeah, I am sharing that from my personal journey. You might resonate with some bits, you might not resonate with some. You might eat more than I will or that I am, or you might not eat at all. It doesn't matter. Like, I just want to open that conversation and maybe bringing some awareness in you about your relationship to food, your relationship to your body image issues that are so much shamed in society, and bringing that up, and seeing and really encouraging you to self-inquire, going deeply into what is your truth. How do you feel good? What amount and which food, or maybe which no food, or which prana, or whatever, which diet make you really feel good, make you really feel aligned and alive. And I know for me, the less I eat food and the less I feel connected with my environment, with myself, the more I feel creative, the more I want to share. Here I am sharing this video with you after 5 days not eating. Yeah, for me, it makes me feel really good with myself. Um, yeah, so I would love to receive your comments if you want to share with me. Even if you don't want, that's not a problem. But please, 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 again, for my heart, you respect my heart. Please don't attack me. I don't want to be attacked because some of the things that I shared triggered you. I'm happy for you to tell me I'm triggered. Lots of stuff that you're saying, I'm like vibrating something in me that feels uncomfortable. But don't project and blame on me, because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm really just sharing myself vulnerably with you, because I love you. Whoever you are, I just love human beings. And my prayer for this world is that we can all find a place of deep integrity with ourselves. So that's all for now. See you soon.